Marhaba everyone, thank you for watching another movie from Brainoholics. Today's topic is very important and I invite you, if you know someone who is doing his master's or his PhD, to share this video with them. I'm going to talk about the structure of a master's, the structures of a PhD thesis document. This is very important, especially that a lot of people go through their PhD without the structure in their mind, or their thesis without the structure in their mind. So let's go ahead and start with what's the first chapter. The first chapter, like every document, should be an introduction. The introduction should say what's the topic, should deal a little bit with what you think you're going to do about the topic, but most importantly, the introduction should end with a paragraph by paragraph description of the subsequent chapters. So at the end of your introduction, you should say, this chapter presented the introduction of my work, and so on. Chapter 2 will present, and then you go on a paragraph where you summarize what's going on in chapter 2. Chapter 3 will present, and you go on until you reach finally, chapter X will present the conclusion of our work as well as some perspectives. Now, often the most overlooked chapter is chapter 2, and this is, in my opinion, the single most important chapter, which is the literature review, which is the state of the art. You are proposing that this is your dent in the scientific world. This is my PhD. This is what I'm bringing to the world. Yet, you cannot do that unless you situate it in a very fully detailed literature review. There's going to be a detailed movie about how to conduct a literature review. However, chapter 2 should be the summary of the first 6 months of your work, which is basically reading 1 to 2 scientific articles per day for 6 months. This will give you a 200, 300 portfolio of research papers that you've read. Out of them, 50, 60, 70, 100 make sense, and it will help you formalize your state of the art. It will help you say, my idea is this is what others have done, this is what the others are lacking, and hence the solution I'm going to propose. So, chapter 1, introduction. Chapter 2, state of the art or literature review. Then comes chapter 3. A lot of time, whether it is a modeling research work or whether it's an experimental research work, a lot of time people fall into the trap where they start mixing, bundling the modeling, the tested plan with the results. You should dissociate them. Chapters 3, 4, and 5, they should be 3 distinct elements where you have your modeling, where you have your experimental, and you have your results. Most of the time, some PhDs, you don't have the experimental portion, no problem. Chapter 3 becomes your modeling. Some of them don't really have a modeling aspect, so chapter 3 becomes the test plan. So, chapter 3, what is it about? Chapter 3 is an abstraction, is a meta level of how you're going to conduct your research. What is it that's going to be involved? You said in chapter 2, this is what's missing. In chapter 3, you're saying, this is my plan of attack. This is my test plan for my experimental work. This is my modeling for my for the problem that I'm coming up with. So chapter 3 is a macro level plan of attack. This is where you can bundle in some of the algorithms you're coming in, and it will be the core of your work. This will be the theory of your work. So, introduction, state of the art, test the plan, modeling, the macro PhD. Then comes the results chapter. A lot of PhDs and a lot of theses, they go ahead and say, this is my algorithm. However, they never really prove it. A dedicated chapter for results and analyzing the results and coming up with what was the issue of the modeling, what was the issue of the experimental. Clearly separating your scientific input to the world with the results so that you can actually analyze them. So this is very, very important. So a PhD so far, we have the state of the introduction, the state of the art, your test plan / modeling / algorithm, so the macro PhD, I'm gonna call it, and the results and discussion. Then you should always end your PhD with a conclusion. However, 2 things should be in the conclusion. A first portion should be, this is what we've done. Just like how you wrote your introduction, chapter 1 will, chapter 2 will, chapter 3 will, your conclusion should say chapter 1 presented, chapter 2 some, and you put a small summary, a little bit more detailed than the introduction. However, what's important in the conclusion is two other sections. So the first one is summary of what went on. The second one is perspectives. A lot of time you would say, if only I had a year, I could have done this, 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 and that. This is where you should put it in case another person is picking up the work after you. This is the most important one, where you go ahead and you say, in the future, I would like to 1, 2, 3, and you come up with ideas that the person reading your manuscript will say, hold on a second, that person, if he's going on for another year, he knows what needs to be done. It's not like a poorly done job. And the very final thing is situation of research. It's very important that you are in a scientific lab, you are in a research team, you're working with a professor. It's very important that you situate your work with respect to everyone working around you. So a situation research, that should be the one that ends, where you tell the big picture of what's happening in the scientific lab, what you did to bring it to the next level, and you conclude with that. So in summary, 5 chapters are enough for a manuscript. They are more than enough to actually clearly and very proficiently transmit your message. An introduction, state of the art, macro PhD chapter, results and discussion, conclusion, and perspective and situation. Make sure that you put the structure in your head, and like this you would be able to, hey, my first year, I should be done with formalizing my topic, so the introduction, and chapter 2, the state of the art. Hey, the second year, I should be doing my test plan, I should be doing my modeling, I should be doing my algorithms, and of course, the second and the third, they're going to be bundled. You're going to have results. It's going to be not sequential. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of loops. And then you wrap up your PhD in the conclusion, and hopefully with a lot of publications. Thank you so much for watching this movie from Brainoholics, and best of luck. If there's anything you would like me to make a movie on, to share my experience and my expertise, please by all means send me a private message, a comment, wherever you want. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.